Kazimierz is considered to be Krakow's trendiest district. But did you know that this neighbourhood was once one of the most important centres of Jewish life in Europe until the German occupation during World War II? Today, Krakow is once again a place where remembrance and Jewish life coexist side by side. But what's authentic and what's staged for tourists? We'll show you how to explore Jewish history in Krakow. Krakow is located in the south of predominantly Catholic Poland. With around 800,000 inhabitants, it's one of the country's largest and most culturally significant cities. We start in Kazimierz, often called the Jewish Quarter. Agnieszka Missioner grew up in Krakow and leads Jewish history tours in Krakow. She shows us her highlights and reveals a hidden gem at the end.
In 15th century, Kazimierz and Krakow are two independent cities. So this king made most of Krakow Jews move out from Krakow, leave Krakow, and they were absorbed, welcomed here. Kazimierz was, of course, independent from Krakow, but it was situated on the same trade roads. It was beneficial, yes, from the same very, very advantageous and economical position, and that gave possibility to traders, craftsmen, and other people to develop.
Kazimierz only became part of Krakow in 1791. A good place to start a visit is the Remuh synagogue, one of 7 historic synagogues in Kazimierz, and one of the few that survived the Second World War. Today it's once again an active place of worship for the Jewish community.
One of the rules is that men should be covered, so you are welcome to borrow a kippah, the small hat at the entrance to the synagogue, and of course we should behave respectfully. But on the other hand, when during the opening hours we are welcome to visit, even if there is a Jewish group that is in the middle of prayer.
The synagogue was built in the 16th century for Rabbi Moses Isserles, one of the most important legal scholars of European Judaism. His grave in the adjacent cemetery attracts visitors from all over the world.
You may be surprised by these pieces of paper left here by the grave of the great Rabbi Remuh. Jewish people, they left by writing the wishes, the prayers, and they leave it by the places of great spiritual importance. Yes, so this is it. And the second element that is related to Jewish tradition are the stones. This is actually how Jewish people commemorate their ancestors, the people that passed away. In a traditional Orthodox cemetery, you won't see flowers.
Be sure to look at the cemetery wall. It's made of fragments of gravestones that were destroyed during the German occupation. A ticket for the synagogue and the cemetery costs 10 zloty, around €2.30. Both are closed to tourists on Saturdays and on Jewish holidays. The heart of Kazimierz is Plac Nowy. The market hall here used to sell meat. Today it's one of the liveliest social hubs in the district. Try a zapiekanka, a toasted baguette that's a classic Polish street food. Agnieszka Missioner takes us to one of the most visited spots in town. The passageway on Józefa Street, where part of Steven Spielberg's movie Schindler's List was filmed. The 1993 Holocaust drama was largely shot in Krakow and helped make Kazimierz known around the world.
Schindler's List was filmed right after communism collapsed in Poland. During that period, Jewish heritage was quite neglected. Jewish history was away from the historical mainstream, so there was no big interest for this. And by bringing this Hollywood movie here, it also brought back Jewish heritage, Jewish history to people's consciousness.
To understand the full story, you need to cross the Vistula River to the district of Podgórze. This is where the Nazis established the Krakow ghetto. The empty chairs in the square commemorate the victims who were persecuted and killed there. Before the war, around 65,000 Jews lived in Krakow. about a quarter of the city's population then. In 1941, the Nazis forced around 20,000 people into the Krakow ghetto under extremely cramped conditions. 2 years later, many were deported to Auschwitz and other camps, while others were killed during the liquidation of the ghetto. At the museum in Oskar Schindler's Enamel factory, you can learn more about the German occupation during the Second World War. The German industrialist's factory became a place of refuge. Officially, enamelware and grenade casings for the German war effort were produced there. Schindler employed Jewish workers and declared them essential to the war effort, saving more than 1,000 people from deportation. In the exhibition, you can walk through reconstructed streets and learn how life changed under Nazi occupation.
Przede wszystkim twórcy wystawy zadbali o to, żeby stworzyć pewną atmosferę tamtego czasu, więc nie tylko są oryginalne obiekty, zdjęcia, filmy, ale jakby jednym z bohaterów wystawy jest też cała aranżacja, taki specjalny design, oryginalna ścieżka dźwiękowa, co pozwala lepiej wczuć się jakby w tą historię.
The exhibition is one of the city's most popular attractions. It's best to book tickets online. For many visitors to Krakow, a day trip to the memorial site in Auschwitz-Birkenau, about 70 kilometers away, is a must. At the former concentration and extermination camp, the Nazis murdered more than 1 million people, most of them Jews. Admission is free. A guided tour costs 150 zloty, around 35 euros. Be sure to reserve a time slot in advance, as spots are often booked out weeks ahead. Back in Kazimierz, the district feels full of Jewish culture. Folklore-style restaurants and Jewish-themed shops, many of which are not actually run by Jewish owners and only emerged in the 1990s when awareness of Jewish history returned. The Café Hafuch is one of the few places that offers genuine kosher food. Some people refer to it as a Jewish Disneyland. Sebastian Rudol from the Jewish Community Center, a hub for Poles rediscovering their Jewish roots, sees it in a more nuanced way.
Even though those places, they're not very genuine, because they started back when there wasn't really a Jewish community 30 years ago, but if you live in Krakow and suddenly you find out you're Jewish and you can go and have, lunch at the kosher style cafe, or you can go to a klezmer music, I consider those places connection points. Right? And I think often people will go to those places and try and dip their toes into Jewish culture through those activities. And I think they serve a purpose.
And now for that insider tip we promised.
Before we finish our tour, I would like to show you a hidden gem, which is right behind this door. So follow me upstairs and I will show it to you.
Agnieszka's favourite place isn't so easy to find. Hevre is a bistro and bar located in a former synagogue and is typical of Kazimierz.
There are hundreds of pre-war synagogues, prayer houses, cemeteries, different kind of institutions, buildings, but you cannot use all of them if you are a very small community, which is the case of the contemporary Jewish community of Krakow, for instance. So a Jewish community is searching for some alternative ways how to preserve, how to use these buildings. And one of the ways, a little bit controversial for some Jewish people especially, you can see here.
You can end your day in Kazimierz in one of the trendy bars or with klezmer music, traditional folk music of Eastern European Jews, which can be heard spilling out onto the streets in the evening. In Krakow, you can immerse yourself in a past that seemed long lost and discover places where Jewish culture is once again alive today. Would you take a tour like this on your Krakow trip?